The tension between Rasheeda and Kirk Frost had been building for years. Their relationship had survived countless storms, from betrayals to public embarrassments. Rasheeda had always tried to hold the family together, believing that love, patience, and forgiveness could heal their wounds. But this time, something in her heart told her that enough was enough. It all began when Rasheeda discovered a series of hidden phone calls and text messages on Kirk's phone. At first, she wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, but the gut feeling wouldn't go away. The trust she had fought so hard to rebuild was now slipping away again. She sat alone in her bedroom, scrolling through the endless messages that pointed to yet another betrayal. Kirk had promised he had changed. He had promised the past was behind them. Yet, here she was, reliving the same pain. Rasheeda's best friend, Kendra, had warned her that Kirk's patterns were dangerous. But Rasheeda always believed in second chances. This time, however, she could no longer defend him. Rasheeda met with her attorney quietly, away from the cameras, away from the chaos. Her voice trembled, but her decision was firm. "I want a divorce," she said. "It's over." The news quickly spread throughout Atlanta's entertainment circles. Friends, family, and fans were shocked, but many quietly supported her. Even Jasmine, who had once been at the center of Kirk's scandals, expressed her support for Rasheeda's decision. Kirk was blindsided. He had never imagined Rasheeda would actually walk away. In his mind, no matter how bad things got, she would always stay. This time, though, he had pushed too far. The weight of his actions finally came crashing down. Jock and Mendices were quick to contact Kirk. They knew the consequences of losing a strong woman like Rasheeda. Jock tried to console Kirk, but also reminded him that actions have consequences. Mendices, still dealing with his own life struggles, warned Kirk not to take Rasheeda's decision lightly. Meanwhile, Rasheeda stayed silent publicly, but made big moves behind the scenes. She removed Kirk from key business ventures, changed legal documents, and began preparing for life on her own. The Frost household, once a picture of unity, now felt like a battlefield. Mona Scott Young, always aware of how drama can shape storylines, immediately scheduled emergency meetings to capture this moment for the next season. She knew this was going to shake love and hip-hop to its core. As Rasheeda packed her bags, her tears fell softly, not because of regret, but because of the freedom she was finally allowing herself to claim. The chapter with Kirk was closing, and she was stepping into her own power. But Kirk wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. Kirk Frost was desperate. The thought of losing Rasheeda forever shook him in ways he hadn't expected. His pride, once his shield, now crumbled under the weight of his mistakes. He showed up at Rasheeda's store unannounced. He pleaded for one last conversation. "Don't do this," he said, his voice cracking. "I know I've messed up, but I can't lose you." Rasheeda listened, calm but firm. "You've been losing me for years, Kirk. I just finally caught up." The conversation was painful. Kirk tried everything: apologies, memories, promises, but Rasheeda had heard it all before. This time, her heart was no longer open to negotiation. Behind the scenes, Mona Scott Young was crafting the most intense storyline yet. She arranged for cameras to capture Kirk's struggle to win Rasheeda back. Jock, Mendices, and Yandy Smith all took sides. Some believed Kirk deserved another chance, while others supported Rasheeda's courage to walk away. Jasmine, surprisingly, reached out to Rasheeda in a moment of reflection. "I never wanted to destroy your family," she admitted. "But you deserve happiness, and maybe that's not with him." The divorce papers were served. Kirk was crushed. He realized he had been given more chances than he deserved, and now they were gone. But Kirk wasn't going to walk away quietly. He fought to keep their businesses, their assets, and tried to slow the divorce process. It became a battle not just of emotions, but of ownership. Rasheeda, however, had built her strength. With the support of her friends, her mother, and even Jasmine, she pressed forward. Her lawyer advised her to protect everything she had worked for. She had spent years sacrificing for the marriage. Now it was time to protect herself. The media buzzed with updates, speculations, and interviews. Fans flooded Rasheeda's social media with messages of support, while Kirk faced heavy criticism for his repeated mistakes. As the days passed, Kirk realized he was losing more than just a wife. He was losing the life they had built together. The news of Rasheeda filing for divorce from Kirk Frost spread like wildfire. Blogs, social media platforms, and entertainment shows exploded with the story. Everyone had an opinion. Fans who had followed their journey for years were torn between heartbreak and relief. Many felt that Rasheeda had finally made the right decision, while others questioned whether Kirk could ever truly change. Kirk found himself in the middle of a public storm. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters chased him, friends questioned him, and his own children were asking him why their mother was leaving. It was a moment of painful reality that he couldn't escape. Young Jock, seeing his friends struggle, met up with Kirk at their favorite hangout spot. "Man, you really let it go this time," Jock said, trying to balance honesty with support. "Rasheeda, was your ride or die? How did you not see this coming?" Kirk sat silently, staring into his drink. "I thought she would never leave. I thought no matter what I did, she'd always stay." Jock shook his head. "You can't keep taking people for granted, Kirk. Some mistakes you can't fix." Meanwhile, Rasheeda was embracing her newfound freedom. Her close friends, including Yandy Smith, gathered around her for support. "You've been through so much, Rasheeda," Yandy said. "Now it's your time to live for yourself." Rasheeda spent more time at her store, pouring her energy into her business. She launched new projects, partnered with other women entrepreneurs, and started using her platform to speak about self-worth and knowing when to walk away. But even as she tried to move on, Kirk kept finding ways to reach her. He sent her flowers, letters, and even tried to involve their kids to get her attention. Rasheeda appreciated his gestures, but knew it was too late. The damage was done. Mona. Scott Young was closely watching every move. She knew the storyline had gripped the audience. The cameras followed Rasheeda as she rebuilt her life and captured Kirk's quiet moments of regret. One day, Kirk made a surprise appearance at Rasheeda's event. It was a big launch for her new clothing line, and all eyes were on them. Kirk stood in front of the crowd and publicly apologized. "Rasheeda, I know I've embarrassed you, I've hurt you, and I've failed you in ways no husband should. But you're still the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm sorry. I'll always be sorry." The room fell silent. Cameras captured every second. Rasheeda's eyes filled with tears, but she remained strong. She stepped forward and said, "Thank you for your words. I forgive you, but I'm choosing me now." The audience erupted in applause. It was a powerful, emotional moment. But Kirk wasn't ready to fully let go. He met with Mendices later that night, trying to find one last way to fix everything. Mendices, who had his own experiences with broken relationships, told Kirk, "Sometimes letting go is the real love. Maybe you need to step back and let her be happy, even if it's not with you." Kirk struggled with this. The thought of losing Rasheeda forever was unbearable. But deep down, he knew Mendices was right. The divorce process continued. Lawyers met, assets were divided, and slowly, the life Kirk and Rasheeda built together began to separate. But the emotional weight of it all still hung in the air. The final court date was approaching, and Kirk was running out of time to make peace with what was happening. Would he let Rasheeda go gracefully? Or would he continue to fight against a future that was no longer his to hold? The answer was just around the corner. The day of the final court hearing arrived. The air was heavy with emotions as Rasheeda and Kirk Frost walked into the courthouse from opposite directions. Neither of them imagined their story would end here, in front of a judge, surrounded by lawyers and cameras waiting outside. Rasheeda was calm, her heart steady. She had made her decision, and there was no turning back. For years, she had fought, for her marriage, for her family, and for Kirk to see her worth. But now, she was fighting for herself. Kirk, on the other hand, was restless. Deep inside, he still hoped for a last-minute miracle, a chance to change her mind, to hold on to the life they built. But every sign around him pointed to the end. Inside the courtroom, their lawyers handled the formalities. Property agreements were read, custody plans were discussed, and financial settlements were finalized. But the most powerful moment came when the judge asked if both parties were ready to proceed with the divorce. Rasheeda stood tall and answered firmly, "Yes, Your Honor." Kirk hesitated. His voice shook. "You too, Kirk. But loving you doesn't mean I have to stay with you. I choose peace now." Those words stayed with Kirk long after she walked away. The world outside reacted instantly. Fans flooded social media with messages of support for Rasheeda, praising her courage to finally leave. Blogs and news outlets covered every detail of the final hearing, calling it the end of an era. Mona Scott Young, always thinking of the next story, arranged a special sit-down interview with Rasheeda for the season finale of the show. In the interview, Rasheeda shared her truth. "I stayed for years because I believed things would change. But sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away. This is not the end for me. This is a new beginning." The episode became the most watched segment of the season. Meanwhile, Kirk struggled with his new reality. The house felt empty. The family dinners were gone. The silence was loud. He had his business, he had his money, but he no longer had Rasheeda by his side. Young Jok, still being a supportive friend, visited Kirk often. "Man, life's not over," Jok reminded him. "You've got to fix yourself now. You can't change the past, but you can become better for the future." Mendices also reached out. "You can't win everything back, Kirk, but you can still be a good father. You can still grow." Over time, Kirk began focusing on his children more. He showed up to school events, spent weekends with them, and tried to be the father he should have always been. As for Rasheeda, she thrived. Her businesses flourished, she expanded into new ventures, and most importantly, she found happiness within herself. Her fans admired her strength and growth, seeing her as a symbol of empowerment. The cameras continued to follow their separate journeys, but the chapter they shared as husband and wife was officially closed. In the final scene of the season, Rasheeda stood on the balcony of her new home, overlooking the city lights. Her voice echoed over the peaceful music. "Sometimes the hardest endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings." And with that, Rasheeda walked into her new life, free, fearless, and finally at peace.